Welcome back. Now let us explore the input and print functions. The two functions essential for basic input and output operations in Python are the input and print functions respectively. See, these functions are built-in functions, and built-in functions are readily available within Python interpreter, so we can use directly in your Python programs without need to import any additional libraries. So we can directly use built-in functions, in particular input and print functions in your Python programs. See, these input and print function provide a simple yet powerful way to interact with the user and display information to them. Okay, so now let us start exploring. First, we explore the print function. The print function in Python is built-in function used to display output to the console. See, generally standard output device or any stream also, but you know what is the standard output device usually? Console. Okay, so this is the syntax of print function. So there are so many parameters. Let us understand these parameters one after the other. Of course, we'll try to understand them with more examples. First, let us see these parameters, understand these parameters one after the other. So the first one is args or objects. So these are the values or expressions separated by commas you want to print. So the print function will automatically convert whatever values you want to print. It converts them to strings and concatenate them with a space by default. Actually, why it separate them by space by default? Because of this separator. Because separator by default is space, so the values are separated by default by space. So what is this separator? This is an optional parameter that specifies the separator between the values, and by default it is space character. See, if you want, you can change it to any other string you prefer. We'll experiment with this. Okay, then comes the end parameter. This is an optional parameter that specifies the string to be printed at the end. That is, after printing all the values, at the end what to be printed. By default it is \n, that is new line character. So the default value is new line character, which moves the cursor to the next line after printing. So once the printing is completed, the cursor will automatically move to the next line. Even this you can change to any string you want. We explored this also. Okay, the next two are the less important at this stage, but let us just see what are those two parameters. So the file. So by default it is standard output device. See, this is optional parameter that specifies the output stream. See, the default output stream is standard output, that is our console. If you want, you can provide a different file like object if you want to redirect the output. So you can redirect the output to a particular file also using this parameter. The next parameter is flush. Okay, this is an optional parameter that controls whether the output should be flushed immediately. Okay, by default it is false, means output is buffered. See, if you set it to true, the output is forcefully flushed. Of course, we are not going to experiment with these two parameters, my dear friends, but it is better to know all the different parameters in the syntax of printf function. Of course, here I clearly given all these parameters, but if you want to know directly using help function, you can know the syntax of print function, my dear friends. Okay, you don't have to depend on my notes. You can directly see here. So directly it will give you the information. So this is the syntax of the print function. Using help function, we can get documentation string of any function. So this is the syntax of print function. Same thing, it is having args, the values to be printed, the separator between the values. Okay, end of the string what to be printed. By default it is new line, and file. See, when you make file equal to none means you are going to print on the standard output device. Flush means whether output to be buffered or to be flushed. By default it is buffered. Okay, like that. And actually this print function is built-in function in module built-ins. Okay, so this is about your print function. Now let us explore the print function. See, we already use print function for printing strings. The first hello world program. See, the string to be printed can be written within the single quotes. You'll get the output. Or the string to be printed can be written within the double quotes also. String in double quotes. Right? But please be careful, you cannot extend it over multiple lines. If you extend it over multiple lines, so you'll get an error. See, whenever the string is within the single quotes or double quotes, the string must be written in one line. If you want to extend it over multiple lines, then we have to use the line continuation character. So if you use this line continuation character, we can extend it over multiple lines. And we are having one more facility, that is using triple quotes, triple single quotes या तो triple double quotes. So using triple single quotes, we can extend the string to be printed over the multiple lines, and we don't need to use any line continuation character. Okay, string to be printed is written in multiple lines, and here we'll get the output without any trouble. See, here we can also use the triple double quotes. Instead of using the single, that is triple single quotes, we can also use triple double quotes. Okay. It works the same way. Of course, we can also use the escape sequences within the strings, but that is not very important because we are having, multiple ways of printing strings using single quotes, double quotes, and triple quotes. So we can easily print most of the strings without any trouble. Okay. So only we need to know two important escape sequences. One is \n and the other one is \t. \n is for new line and \t for printing with a tab character. So if you remember these two, escape sequences, that is more than enough in Python. See, for example, if you want to print the output in multiple lines without using triple quotes, you can get that using \n. Okay, string output in 2 lines. See, we return the string in 1 line, but using this \n, what \n means? It means new line. So after this, the remaining part of the string is printed in the new line. Multiple lines. Okay, be careful. Whatever, even if you write lions also, lions will be printed. Okay, be careful. Okay, like that. And what about \t? It will give you tab character between the two parts. That string output, and here we have a tab character in 2 lines. So this is about the basic strings to be printed using single quotes, double quotes, or triple single or triple double quotes. Not only this, we are having many other formatting options with print function. See, Python's print function offers various formatting options to customize how output is displayed. Okay. See, the first one is the default one, which is formatting using the comma separators. This is the most straightforward way, simple and readable. Elements separated by commas are printed with spaces in between them. And here for this method, we are having very limited formatting options. So to get more formatting options, we need to discuss the other 3 methods. Out of other 3 methods, 2 are old methods and 1 is the latest method. First, let us explore this formatting using the comma separators, which is the default method. Then we try to explore the other 3 methods, 2 old and 1 very, very new method. Okay, so let us start with this formatting using comma separators. Let us see the examples. Now look at this. See, in Python, you can print multiple objects. Okay, so you can print a string, then you can print a number, integer, you can print a floating point value. Okay, see, there are many other things you can print, bool values. There are also lists. You can print the list also within the print function. And what we need to do is we need to separate all these objects by commas. Okay, so there is something called list which you are going to discuss later on. So that also can be printed. See, you just need to separate the objects with commas. You just need to separate the objects to be printed with commas. You will get the output directly. See here, hello is printed. Then next object is printed with a separator. What is the separator I used? Space. The next one is printed with separator space. Next one is printed with separator space. Next object is printed with separator space. See, suppose if you want separator to be other than space, you can specify. Okay, you can specify any string, sir. Suppose you want separator to be $. You can use it. Now let us see the separator between the objects. See, the first object, separator, second object, separator, third object, separator, fourth object, separator, and fifth object. Okay, final object, automatically what happens? When you print the final object, the cursor will move to the next line. For example, if you write one more print statement, the next print will happen on the next line, because the end of the line is by default new line. Okay. So when you print, automatically the new object is printed on the new line, because by default the end parameter is by default new line character. Okay. If you want, you can change this to some other character or some other string also. Suppose you want to change it to something like and let us see this. See what happened? This new object is printed in the same line because we changed the end parameter with and. See, if you want, you can experiment with this separator. You can have the separator something like this, and you can also have separator like \t, the tab character. See what happened? The separator is the new string. See, you can experiment with this separator and end parameters. Okay, please explore that. Now let us try to understand how to use the variables to print the values. Okay, see, suppose I am having a string hello. In the print, I can simply call this st variable. Then I am having an integer variable which is 34. So I can directly print 34, or I can use the variable iv. Then I am having a float variable 76.5. I can use that, or I can call that float variable here. Then I am having Boolean variable. Let me directly write true and print that here. Even this, list, which is 2345. Okay, you can create and you can call that. And again with separators, here also you can, explore the separators. Separator, you can keep it as like, tab character, and end you can keep the rupee character. Okay, so let us print this and you will get the output. See, separator which I use is tab character. Okay, separator which I use is tab character. Okay, here there is a slight variation with that, but generally the separator will be tab character between the variables. Okay, because of the length of that, we might have seen little variation in that. Is that clear? And you see end parameter you kept rupee symbol, so you got that. So this is about formatting using comma separators. The next method is formatting using modulo operator. So this method uses modulo, that is percentile operator, as placeholder for inserting values into a string. See, this is the older approach and it is similar to C style formatting. So those who are well versed with C programming language, they may like this particular formatting method. But this method is less readable, error prone for complex formatting. So this is actually less used method. Of course, it is allowed. We can use this method, but as I mentioned, it is less readable and error prone for complex formatting. And in this method, percentile and percentile D, that is percentile I and percentile D stands for integer, percentile F stands for float, and percentile S stands for string type. Okay. So let us see with one example. Print. Okay. So here name is equal to percentile S. So here after the string, percentile and variable list. So the string, I write my name only. Then I am having marks is equal to percentile F. Okay. So marks, let me write marks equal to 96.7. Then very ambitious, rank, okay, is equal to percentile D, or percentile I you can use. So obviously I'll opt for first rank. Is that clear? And this is the output. Name is equal to Sridhar, marks is equal to 96.7, and rank is equal to 1. See, if you want, you can create the variables. For example, name variable you can have, like, name variable here. Okay. Marks variable you can have, which is 96.7. Then we can have rank variable, which is 1. So here, instead of using them, you can use the variables. Instead of directly using the values, you can use the variables also. NA, MA, RA. Okay. Even this works. So the same output. Here, if you want, you can change the value, sir. Let us make it 99.7. Why to make it less? So the same values will be printed. So this is your second method, that is formatting using modulo operator. The third method is formatting using the dot format method. See, this method involves defining a format string with replacement operator or operators. The replacement operator is nothing but this opening and closing curly braces, and passing the values to be inserted as separate arguments using dot format method. Let us understand with examples. Now let us consider this print function. Within the print function, we are having the format string followed by dot format method. So using this, you are going to pass the values. Okay. So here the name is equal to, this is the replacement operator. So the corresponding value, I send it as an argument in the format string. Okay. Here I write this name. After that, marks. So the next argument. Then we have the rank. So here I don't have to specify, format specifiers like percentile I, percentile D, percentile S. So based on this value, the corresponding values will be printed. Okay. So what happens? Let us see. So you're going to get the output. So we are just having the replacement operator and the values to be inserted, we send them as separate arguments to this format method. Now there is one very interesting thing. Let me explain this. Now suppose I don't give the values in this order. Suppose I give 1, 96.7, then Sridhar. See, actually, you can call it as, indexing like 0 index, 1 index, and second index. So 0 index is for rank, so I can use 0 index here. 96.7 is first index, which is marks, so first index here. And this Sridhar is the string which should go here. So I can use this indexing method also. It works. Is that clear? So suppose if you don't write them in the correct order, after writing you can just map them. Okay. So 0 means the first value, that is the value at 0 index. 1 means the value at first index. 2 means the value at second index. Okay. See, actually this method offers more control over formatting. That is, we are having some more formatting options. Let us explore those formatting options. So here we can use format specifiers within the placeholders to control formatting. So let us understand with examples. Consider the following example: the print function, the format string, followed by format method. So here within the string I write name is equal to, okay, the replacement operator or the placeholder. And here I write the string. So normally when you run this, you'll get the output. No problem. But I want to print it in a field width of 20. So then I can use this format specifier colon 20. So the same name, see here it is printed in just, 7 spaces, but now it will be printed in 20 spaces. So when you run this, you see here it is actually printed in 20 spaces. That is a field width of 20, but it is left aligned. So default is left aligned. But if you want the right alignment of the text, so here you can use this right alignment character. So it will be right aligned. So the same field width of 20, but the text is right aligned. You can also make it center aligned using the center alignment character. So you get the same text in 20 spaces field width, but it is center aligned. Is that clear? And we also have this particular format specifier for numbers, okay? And also for floating point number, we can also specify how many decimals you want to print, okay? So let us explore that also. So then what I want, marks is equal to, so this marks I want to print in, so how many places you want to print, what is the field width you want, okay? So I want field width of say 10, okay? And after decimal, how many points or how many values or how many numbers you want to print, that also you can specify. So you just want to print 2 numbers after the decimal. F is for floating point. So here I can pass the argument 96.7. Okay. So let us see what is the output. You can see this marks. So total this marks is printed in 10 places. It is by default. Here, see this marks by default, it is right aligned. So if you want it to be left aligned, you can just use this left alignment operator. So see, the strings are by default, left aligned, okay? Whereas the numbers are by default right aligned. So there is no fixed, pattern here. So you just need to experiment with examples. Then you want, rank. So let us write that rank is equal to, so it is an integer. In how many, how much field width you want to specify, you can just write down maybe 5. Okay, just write down that number. And even this is by default right aligned. So if you want it to center align, you can do that also. You can make it center aligned. Even this, you can make it center aligned, sir. Like this. Okay. So using the format specifier, you can get the output in a more beautiful manner. Okay. Of course, you can experiment with this. See, instead of, directly writing the literals here, you can use the variables as we done earlier also. See, for example, here I can use the variables like string is equal to Sridhar. So here instead of this, I can use the variable. It still works. The story is same, okay? Because you center aligned it. Suppose if you right align this, what happens? It is right aligned, okay? So this formatting options we are having, because of this method offers more control over the formatting, okay? So this is about your third method, that is formatting using the dot format method. The last method for formatting is formatting using formatted string literals, that is F strings. See, F strings provide a powerful and concise way to embed variables or expressions directly within the strings. See, it includes the value of Python expressions inside a string by prefixing the string with small f or capital F and writing the expressions as, that is, within the placeholders, we are directly writing the expressions. So there is no need of the format method here. Okay. So the entire string is prefixed with small f or capital F. Okay. So this is an example for this, formatting using the F strings. So the string is prefixed with either small f or capital F. And here within the placeholders, we are directly writing the value or the expression. And here we can also have the optional format specification. So it is a concise, readable and easy for variable insertions. But this is the latest method. It requires Python 3.6 or above version to work. If you are working with the older versions of Python, please update the version of Python in your system. Otherwise, this F strings method does not work. You have to use dot format method. And as I mentioned, an optional format specifier can follow the expression. We can only write the expression, or it can be followed by optional format specifier. So passing an integer n after the colon will specify minimum field width n for padding. And this is useful for making columns line up. Okay. So let us see examples. So let us start with the print function. And the format string is prefixed with small f or capital F. You can use any one. Okay. And here we are having the format string name is equal to. So earlier this was your, replacement operator or the placement holder. But within this, we are having direct variable or the literal. So here I am writing the name. Followed by that, marks is equal to directly the expression I can write here, 96.7. Then rank is equal to 1. See how simple it is. Clear? So let us run this and you can see the output. Now here we can also have the format specification. So what we can use is, you can use colon and specify the field width. So you want name in a field width of 20 spaces. So it is done automatically. So again, the alignments you can do, like, you want right alignment, that also can be done here. No problem. Center alignment can be done. See, all those alignments also can be done directly here. Even this marks you can specify. Okay, the field width you can specify. Because it is a floating point, after decimal, how many values you want to print, that also you can specify. Okay, so that will be printed directly. So by default, it is right aligned. If you want center aligned, you can do that. Then rank, Okay, in a field width of say 4 you want to print. Okay, so that will be printed. By default it is right aligned, you can do left alignment. See, actually you don't need to mention this F also here. Okay, by default it is understood. Okay, so this is the fourth method and the most important latest method, that is formatted string literals method. So let me use this method for writing the multiplication table, say of 5. So I just take the variable 5 for I in range 1 to 11, print. So I use f string, the first number which is x, and the field width, say let us say 2 into, let me take field width 3, into I in field width 3 is equal to, the result should be x into I in field width of 4. Okay, so let me make all of them aligned to center. So let us see the output. So this is your output, my dear friends. Okay, so this is the output for multiplication table of 5. You can try multiplication table of 6, 10, say 12, say 15, many other multiplication tables. Okay, see, we can explore many patterns once we learn this, loops, okay, control flows. Okay, so that is about your print function. Now let us explore input function. Input function is used to accept user input. The input function reads a line of text from standard input, usually the keyboard, and returns it as a string. Okay, so let us use this input function. So when I run it, so here because I am using Jupyter, the behavior may be little different. So here I need to enter the input. So I enter a string and press enter. So it reads the string and it returns it as a string. Now let me run this again. This time I enter an integer. See, even though you enter integer, it reads that integer, but it returns it as a string. So input function always returns, okay, the input given by the user as a string. So please note that. Now suppose instead of the integer, if I pass, a floating point number, it reads it, but it returns it as a string. Please note that point. And one more important point, generally before the input functions, okay, we use the print statement to give message to the user, like enter value, enter name, something like that. But in Python, we are having this prompt. A prompt can be passed as an optional argument that will be displayed to the end user. See, for example, okay, name is equal to input. So here, within this input function, I can send this particular, enter your name string as a prompt to the user. So it is displayed as a message to the user. Then I can print the name. Of course, I want to use the latest F string. Name is equal to name. Okay. So here you enter a string. This input function returns it as a string. So name is a variable which is assigned to that particular object, and we are printing that name. So let us run this and check. So here I want to enter my name, Sridhar. So name is equal to Sridhar. Now I want to enter marks. Marks is equal to input, enter your marks. See, generally marks are floating point numbers. So here I want to print the marks. Okay, marks is equal to this marks variable I am using, marks. Okay, so let me run this. So what happens? First enter your name. I entered my name. Then it is asking me to enter marks. So I enter my marks. So that is the story. No problem. See, even though it looks like a number, it is actually stored as a string. For example, here if you see type of this marks, so it looks like, floating point value. If you see the type of it, it is a string. So you entered 96.7 as a floating point value. You are expecting it to be a floating point value, but unfortunately this input function can return that only as a string. So by default, input function returns whatever user input as a string. Okay, but if you want to use it as a floating point, then we need to do what is known as typecasting. So please be careful. Okay, see, the default return type of the input function is string. We have to convert that string type to our required type by using corresponding typecasting method. Okay, for example, if I want, integer values, enter number. Okay, and again say b is equal to input, enter second number. Of course, here it should be first number. See, please be careful. You have to close that string cell. Okay. Now what happens? A and B both will be strings. Suppose after this, if I want to print A plus B, what happens? Suppose if you enter two numbers, say 25 and 45, so the sum should be 70. Let us see what happens. Okay, let us see what happens. Okay, sorry, it should be a code. Okay, so let me re-enter this. Okay, fine. So let me run this. Enter the first number 25, enter the second number 45. What happened? It actually concatenated the two strings. Okay, because both are strings, plus means concatenation. It just concatenated both the strings, but I want them to be integers. Then what I should do is I need to do what is known as typecasting. So the input I have to convert as an integer using this int function. Okay, so under built-in functions I explained different typecasting methods. So I need to convert it as an integer. Then what happens? Automatically whatever values you enter, they are converted to integers. Then if you add them, you get the sum. So let us see the output this time. 25, 45. So this time both are integers. When you add it, you get the required output. Okay, so we need to do the typecasting. Consider the following example. A is equal to int input, enter the value. Of course, you given message to the user, but you just mentioned enter the value. You not mentioned whether user need to enter integer value or float value. Okay, suppose you run this and user entered the value 24.5. What happened? There's an error because invalid literal for int with base 10. It can only convert the strings which are integers to integer values. Okay, it cannot convert this float fellows or the strings to integers. Okay, so int function cannot handle this. Okay, in such situations, we are having one very, very beautiful function, which is Aval function. Aval function is most commonly used function with input function. Okay, see, this Aval function takes at least one argument, which is a string containing a valid Python expression, and evaluates it, returning the result of the expression. So the result, suppose if it is a float, it returns it as a float. Okay, eval convert it as a float and assign it to that particular variable. Suppose if it is an integer, okay, it converts it into an integer and assign it to the variable. Okay, so that is what this particular evaluate function is going to do. Okay, one of the most commonly used function with input function. Okay, in our previous example, instead of using that int, if I use eval function with input function, so here you are asking user to enter whatever value they want. Okay, if they want, they can enter integer value, they can enter float value. Okay, it actually evaluates it and then assign that particular value to A. Okay, so let us see this. So this time I enter 24.5. No problem. So that is actually assigned to A. If you print it, then you know it. If you print, then you know it. Okay, so let us do this. 24.5. So A is 24.5. See, if you want, you can check the type of A. See, what I do this time, let us see this. 23 into 67 minus 9.87. I entered an expression. No problem. It evaluates it and that particular value is assigned to A. So that is the beauty of this particular eval function. Okay. So if you are not sure about the type of input, it is better to use eval function instead of using int, yeah, float, functions. Okay. So this is one of the interesting functions. Of course, there is one more, interesting function called split function to accept, multiple inputs. Okay. But please remember, by default, the input function reads the input and, convert it as a string, or it returns it as a string only. For example, if I want to enter two values, say AB, input function, enter two values separated by comma. Okay. And if I use this split function, see, these functions again later on, with strings and other, data types we are going to explore, especially the list and other, data structures generally we call it. With them, we are going to explore it more. But here, just for understanding, to enter multiple values, you can use this split function. Okay. So let me just write down split function can be used to enter multiple, not values, multiple inputs. That is a better statement. Instead of saying multiple values, let us say multiple inputs. See, all the inputs are strings only. Please note that. Okay. See, even though you mentioned values, even if you enter the values, they are by default, returned as a strings only. Okay. Right. So enter the two values. Suppose 23, 45. So what happens? You can check the type of both A and B, sir. Type of A, it is a string. Okay. And value of A is actually string, whatever value you entered. Okay. So please note that. And suppose if I say A plus B here, the concatenation of the two strings will happen. Okay. 23, 45. The concatenation happens. Okay. So this is about your input function, my dear friends.